have a beef with all last borns.
Like,
Skiddly toilet rinse.
I think that we're on
like
the
we're
same
mates.
level,
Yeah,
and we're not.
You're not my mate.
Exactly.
Yeah. So sometimes I would tell her, like, Mom, like, I can't just do this at your beck and call. Can you ask me to do it? Why is it that I have to ask you? It's not a culture to say this.
Family is family, yes.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes we have to look at them like they're not family and address them in that way.
Hello and welcome back to yet another episode of Spiritual Elevation. I am Sabi Speaks, the host of the show and the co-pilot of this flight. If this is your first time here on Spiritual Elevation, welcome. This is a podcast where we journey through spiritual principles and we discuss how to effectively walk with Christ. If you look to your left and if you look to your right, you may see false doctrines and theological misunderstandings. But don't worry, we're going to get you out of there. So please buckle in, expect a little bit of turbulence, a conviction, and repentance. Enjoy the flight. Hello, guys. We are back for yet another episode. And as you can see, we have somebody here in person. So you guys, I have my good sis here. Okay, before she introduces herself, I'm going to introduce her. This is like my literal big sis. We met 5 years ago.
Oh my gosh. I didn't realize, I haven't thought about it in that way. Yeah.
Well, my first year of college, in undergrad, I met this one who just guided the way for me, prevented me from getting into so much trouble. Unnecessary drama. Yeah, she helped me, and even now in grad school, we're in the same city, growing in our sisterhood and our friendship, and I'm so glad for you to be here.
Oh, shucks.
Can you let the people know who you are?
Hello, my name is Zita. I'm a stay-at-home mom to my wonderful, wonderful, wonderful 1.5-year-old. I'm a new mom.
You have a husband?
I am married.
Melvin, she loves you.
I've been married for going on, this month is 3 years. That's really awesome.
Yeah. So this is our good sis, Zita. She's my good sis, and I'm pretty sure after that she's probably going to be your good sis too. But yes, today we're going to get into a wonderful conversation just because we were having a conversation yesterday and I kind of want to bring it here and like continue it. We're talking about like kind of the things that big sisters go through whenever you have like younger siblings.
Y'all little siblings be doing too much.
A little too much. And I think one of the things we were talking about, we didn't say it in these terms, but we kind of mentioned how older sisters become pushovers from their families, like parents and their expectations and what they expect us to do. Like we're pretty much a third parent. And how sometimes like younger siblings, for me personally, I have beef with younger siblings because I feel like you can tell when someone's a younger sibling and they just act different, especially when you're the last born. So I got something against last borns. But oftentimes older sisters tend to become pushovers by every person in the family because of expectations, because of always being in a position where you have to sacrifice. So what do you feel like your experiences with that?
Honestly, I can definitely attest to that. I'm just a sensitive person. So growing up, if my parents told me to do something, I just did it. Like I didn't question it. That's just my personality.
Yeah.
My younger sister specifically, she's not like that. If you tell her go sweep, she's gonna be like, why? And I'm gonna be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So growing up, I was like, I just became, like Arez is always gonna do all the stuff.
Yeah.
Because
who's Arez?
Me, sorry. That's what my family calls me. Arez is always going to, do the chores. So without question, without fighting, my sister will fight. My little brother he will fight and do it and then fight again. He's a really good mix of the both of us.
Right.
But yeah, I definitely struggled a lot with like it just became my personality, honestly. So especially when I became a mom, when I was pregnant, I was like, we're gonna have to work on this because I don't ever want my children to question whether or not I will be there for them. So yeah, growing up, I definitely, yeah, the pushover. That's yeah.
The tea. I think for me, I realized that complex for me whenever I left for college and then came back home. And I remember there was a time I came and like the bathroom was like so like
Oh my
unkept.
gosh.
And I was like who's been cleaning the bathroom? Like what
Mm-hmm.
do you guys do? And they were like, "Oh, well we knew you were going to come and do it." And
That's
oh,
wild.
bruh, I'm telling you, that day in my heart, I was like, I'm not cleaning this bathroom no more.
Yeah.
That bathroom was a pigsty. I had to like eventually go back and start cleaning it. But I
Yeah.
was like, is this how y'all view me as like a big sister? Like, you know, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And I realized it wasn't even with just the bathroom. It was like a lot of the stuff in the
Mm-hmm.
house or just responsibilities. It's like because naturally I've been put in a position where I'm the one that has to do it, and I
Mm-hmm.
do it and I do it with my heart. It's kind of like, okay, let's just leave it for Sabrina.
Mm-hmm.
And I realize that's not fair because
Yeah.
sometimes I want someone to do something for me, but when they
Yeah.
do it for me, they don't do it with their heart. They don't do it with like they don't put their back into it. And so it's like, you know
Yeah.
what, just leave it. I'll go ahead and do it.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I would even self-sabotage myself by asking someone to do something. And when they don't do it to my standard, I'm like, bruh, forget it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I remember my first time coming home from college, and the house was a mess, and I was shook. I was like, "What is going on?
yeah.
Like, where's my mom? Because my mom don't do this." I was so
Mm-hmm.
confused. I was like, "What are you guys doing here? Like, what's going on?"
Mm-hmm.
But the same thing. I was like, so I left, and everything just went to crap. Like, what the heck? It's all, and I think I came home for Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
so I was only gone August, September, October, 3, 4 months,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, dude, this is crazy.
Right.
As you're talking, I'm like thinking, even if it's not purposeful, it's just subconscious because people just play into those roles, and that's how you
Yeah.
see them. The Bible talks a little bit about that. Whenever Jesus goes home, it
Yeah.
tries to,
Like heal.
yeah, it tries to heal people, and they're like, "Weren't you a carpenter? Aren't you a
yeah.
carpenter? Like, what are you
Aren't you Rick's
doing?"
son?
Yeah, literally. And he was like, "Dang, I just try to help y'all." And basically, same thing. Like, he came home, people saw him in this specific role,
Yeah.
and he couldn't bless them.
Yeah.
Like he could have with them. In
Yeah.
that same way, families do that, and I feel like I'm in that like area where I'm trying to figure out like how, because I'm starting my own family too, so I'm
Yeah.
sure as we all get older,
Mm-hmm.
there's gonna be a lot of like, that
Yeah.
same thing. So it's like, how do we break from that? I think definitely prayer, like asking the
Mm-hmm.
Lord to um not let our hearts get like hard.
Yeah.
Like Sabrina's not cleaning. What's going on? Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
Sabrina, what's going? Softer, kinder,
Sheesh.
understanding. So
Child.
yeah.
I'm still trying to navigate how to even like how to go about it because I think once I realized that I was the pushover or I was the person that they're like, oh, she's just gonna do it. I naturally wanted to rebel against that. But the thing about it is like it doesn't solve any issues because if no one
Yeah.
is, picking up the ball drops.
Yeah.
And I don't want the ball to drop. But then
Right.
it's like I also don't want you guys to disrespect me in a way where of course she's gonna do it.
Yeah.
So that's always just kind of been my challenge, like navigating, still doing what needs to get done, but also getting that respect that I feel like is due. Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think, because I think, was it last Christmas or my first Christmas
Mm-hmm.
not at home was hard because I was not at home.
Mm-hmm.
We had been married for a month, and I was like, I woke up Christmas Day and I was like, it's just me and him.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, okay, God, this was a fun sleepover. I'm trying to go home now.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember trying to do something with my siblings. It didn't work out, and I was so frustrated because I was like, I'm trying to keep like the family traditions.
Yeah.
I know it looks different because I'm married and not at home, but like,
Mm-hmm.
let's try to do something. Didn't work out, and ultimately, I found that family is family, yes,
Yeah.
but I think sometimes we have to look at them like they're not family
Mm.
and address them in that way and say
Mm.
like, hey, like that was what you did was mad disrespectful,
Mm-hmm.
and I want you to look at what just the situation from this point of view.
Yeah.
Like if your friend did this, if
Mm.
whoever you care about in your life who is not family did this. If I did this to you,
Yeah.
you know, how would you feel?
Mm-hmm.
And like literally help them see it. And sometimes, like I think at least in the beginning, it's not going to be easy. They might be like, yeah, you're right, but be consistent and like letting them know that you're not about that. Like that's not okay.
Is
Like,
that like anything that they do or anything they do in particular to you?
I think anything that they do. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like family is people you're supposed to be able to talk to
Yeah.
regularly. And then when it comes to siblings, specifically younger siblings, like you should be guiding them. So if they're acting out of pocket, you let them know, like
Yeah.
that's not okay. And then like I know whenever I got married, my little brother and I have always been really tight. When I got married, I could see that he was upset, but I don't think he realized that he was upset. You know, like he was just acting like he kind of felt like she left me, you know what I mean? Which
Mm-hmm.
I understood. At the time when it was happening, I could see it and I didn't say anything about it. I was like, he needs to process, you know?
Yeah.
And I told him that recently. He was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I was like, it's fine. And we're fine now. But like you see stuff, sometimes you have to know when to talk about it and when to say like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
that's not okay. Um, you know, like gauge, you know your siblings, gauge it in that
That's
way.
true.
Yeah.
That's true. I think that's something that I had to like not seeing them as my family and addressing them. I think was one of the hardest things that I had to do because it's kind of like they're always going to be your family, but it's like
Right.
how do I put my own biases aside and address certain things? For me, it took me leaving home and going to college and then like learning about myself and learning about how things are like supposed to be, and I would come back and I think issues were just so clear to me because I was learning, about them from a different perspective. And so then that's when I would be like, okay, how am I going to say this? Like, I think one of the challenges I faced was I changed, but they didn't. Like, they
Mm,
were the same people because, of course, this was the system. But I
right.
left home, learned, came back, and I was like, oh, okay, we're going to have
Yeah.
to fix that. We're going to have to fix that. And I felt bad because at some
Yeah.
point I felt like I was just coming and fixing everything.
Yeah.
And these are people's lives. So you don't just come and turn a knob and they change.
Yeah.
But I had to, like, it became a system of like teaching and unlearning and relearning. Like, me and my mom, our relationship dynamic has changed so much
Mm,
because in the past, naturally she would just tell me to do something, I would do it. I was the
mm.
trust and obey child. Like
Right.
she'd go tell me to do something and I
That's
would do it.
me. Yeah.
Literally. And so when I went to college and I came back, I realized I don't like it when she just says, do this, do this.
Mhm.
Cause I'm like, I'm now in my 20s and I'm
Yeah.
like, girl, like, like
Yeah.
I have a schedule now. I have this,
Yeah.
so you can't really just tell me what to do anymore. You
Yeah.
have to consider that I have things. So
Yeah.
sometimes I would tell her, like, Mom, like, I can't just do this at your beck and call. Can you ask me to do it? Can you
Mm.
say in your free time? And at first, you're my child. Why? I love you, mommy. Why is it that I have to ask you? It's not a culture to say this. And
Yeah.
in her defense, whenever you translate stuff back into African language, it's not, you don't to ask a child, please.
Yes.
Like, that's not even
Yeah.
the language. So when you
Yeah.
translate it into English, for them, it's just like, I'm just telling you to do this. But, Americans, we kind of, we do things differently.
Mhm.
We ask our children to do stuff. So
Yeah.
that was a process that I had to be like, Mommy, can you ask me? It took some time, but we're there.
Yeah.
But we're there. So sometimes I did have to take it away from the perspective of like, oh, that's mom. I can't ask her to do this. Like, no, we're gonna do this together.
Yeah. So with your younger siblings, have you done that with them? Anything like similar to what you did with your mom?
I feel like yes. One of the things that I feel like I did was become more vulnerable with my emotions
Okay.
because naturally with them I'm like stern.
Mm.
It's kind of like older sister, like do this, do this, do
Mhm.
this. But then
Mhm.
I think there are moments where they would see me cry or they would hear me cry and they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, she's human." Like, "Oh my
Mm.
god!" Like the only emotions I would show them is happiness and anger, like
Yeah.
every other African.
Yeah.
But I think when they were able to see me in my weak points and they were like, "Okay, she's human." So when I would address certain things, especially with my brother, like especially this year, I'd be telling him like, "Don't like when you do this, it makes me upset." And he'll be like, we'll have conversations,
Mhm.
and now he sees it and he at least tries. So I think
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to implement that too with my
Hmm.
siblings because I realized like similar to my parents, I was very like no, like very stern. My sister used to call me a robot
Oh,
because she was like, "You don't ever show any emotion." But I was like, "I'm not supposed to show you
mm-hmm.
guys emotion. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
your older sister. You're supposed to look up to me. So I have to be doing the
Right.
right thing at the right time all the time."
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I had to learn like, okay, I need to open up to them, like tell them like, oh, okay, I also experience this. And that was hard, especially with my little sister, because we're only a year and a half apart. And so with her especially, I kept a lot of things from her. So I was like, oh, she has to look at me like, you know, and so I was like, oh shoot, like this girl, I gotta tell her stuff. Like I gotta be vulnerable. It was, I think, with her, since I did it with her, it was easier with my little brother. And so my little brother specifically, it's much easier. And I'm like, and he's very Junior. My little brother and I are very, very, very similar. Yeah. So a lot of times, like, it's just easier to talk to him about stuff because he just gets it. Like he's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I had to start doing that too, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize I was not. Yeah. I didn't realize it was gonna be this hard. So yeah,
and that's just like a product of our upbringing. Yeah. But question to you is like, how do you maintain your older sister role while also like being a friend to them? Because I feel like sometimes the balance that I struggle with is like trying to not exercise authority over them, but then it's also like, but I'm still your big sister, you know.
That has been interesting. I'll use my little brother as an example. With him, like I said, we're already really close. But I noticed when I went to college and when I graduated and I came home, there was like a rift. Like it felt like he just felt far away. And I think it was my fault because I pushed everybody. I pushed a lot of people away, including him. And so I think we had to have some conversations, like to, clear the air, basically. So I think having conversations and kind of like, it sounds weird, but it's the truth, like literally reevaluating your relationship. Because one thing I'm really learning, family, like I said, family is family, but sometimes like you have to treat them like other people. Because if you don't, then the relationship can get sour really quick. Yeah. And so with him, like we literally we talk like, hey, blah blah, like but I'm still your older sister. You don't get to act crazy. And whenever he tries to, I definitely call him out. I'm like, you're not talking to me like that. You be careful. Don't do that with me.
You're right.
But I think first and foremost, be the older sister, and then learn how to be the friend. Like, don't put the older sister aside, because then they're gonna be like, oh, go crazy. Yeah. And then you have to bring them back. Like, that's not what's, just learn how to be their friend. And you can even like literally ask them like, hey, now we're 25. Like, right. Because I think, and it's funny because like we were talking about this earlier today. It's not today, but just cultural differences. Yeah. Like, I feel like talking to, and I could be wrong, but talking to Americans about this versus Africans, because Africans, the rules are like, it's like almost are engraved. Yeah, yeah. And it's so like, whenever it comes to stuff like this, it can be really weird and hard. Like, yeah. So
no, I think what you're saying is true. Culture has a really big thing to do with it because Americans are very like friendly. Even like professors are like, call me Jim. I'm like, no, Mr. Dr. Professor. Like, there are levels to this. Yeah. And so one of the challenges I faced was that like I'm very like chill. I don't like to exercise that authority. At least I don't think so. And so then my parents would be the ones to exercise it. They're like, no, Sabrina's your older sister. You can't talk to her like that. Or like, this is something that happened during COVID, and I was like, this was a whole reevaluation I have to go through. Sitting in the car, right? The way I was raised, me and my older sister, the oldest person sits in the front. Yes. So, like, as the youngest, you go to the back. Right. And so there was a time where, one of my youngest siblings, I'm not going to say who, but sat in the front. And I'm looking at him like, no, like your place is in the back. They didn't want to get down. Yeah. And I'm like, bro, like
heated.
Yes. And I realized, okay, so maybe you did not catch that culture aspect. But no, in my mind, like the youngest sit in the back. And so, at some point, like my mom, at some point she didn't care, but then she would be like, no, go and sit in the back. Like, that's your older sister. And they would sit and fight. And I'm like, bro, like, what are you not getting about this respect thing? And so I remember I brought it up to my friends and they were like, bro, it's not a problem. Just sit in the back. And I'm like,
you don't get it.
You don't get it. Like, it's a cultural thing. Yes. And so
it's like a mark of disrespect, like huge disrespect. Yeah.
Because it's like, you don't even respect me enough to sit in the back. But then I also had to realize, like, I was raised, like, I was born outside the country, then I was brought in. So my mentality is I'm never an American regardless, even if I was here my whole life. But then I realized, like, I have siblings that were born in the US. And so sometimes they're just like completely American in the way that they go about things. So they're American raised in an African household. And I'm like, no, sometimes I feel like our cultures are different. And that's something that I try to navigate a lot. Like, respect me, but I'm not gonna odogu, like, you know what I'm doing? You know, that's just one of my challenges.
Yeah, I feel you though. And I heard once, I guess a couple times, that even though we're all siblings, all your siblings, you know, but you all have different parents. In that, like, the parents that you got aren't the same parents that Chelsea got, aren't the same parents that your brother got or your older siblings got.
Yeah.
So, and the same thing for me. Like, my little brother, he got it. He has life easy. Okay. My sister, even, we're only a year and a half apart, but like, it goes back to like the whole age thing. It doesn't matter how much younger she is to me. The things that I had to do versus what she had to do, very different.
Yeah.
Like, very, very different. The responsibilities that she had versus what I had, it's honestly as if we're 10 years apart or 5 years apart. You know what I mean?
I feel that.
Yeah. So I definitely feel you. Like, my sister and I have had these fights before about the car thing. I'm like, I'm not doing this with you. You need to get in the back.
Yeah,
like
literally.
that's your place. As long as I'm here, okay. You can do it, Junior, maybe, I don't know, but that's not my portion.
Get in the back. And I feel you, because my brother is literally 1 year younger than me. But if you see the relationship dynamic, you would think I'm several years older.
Yeah.
Because when I was younger, it was more like Sabrina is in charge. So I remember I would be teaching them, you know, their homework and stuff. Yeah. And my mom gave me permission. I would get like a wooden spoon, and if they didn't get it right, I'm beating them, like, literally. And I'm 1 year older than him.
Yeah.
And I'm 4 years older than my younger sister. And so as we're growing, I'm realizing, okay, we're not that far in age, like, for real. But I think when you're raised with that age disparity, it's kind of like, no, like, you know, respect the law.
Yes, literally. There's a law. You have to respect it. And then it's like, you talk to your American friends about it. They're like, why are you doing all that? That's like your friend. And it's like, that's not my friend. That's my little sister. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's whenever my parents would tell me, like, oh, bring your sister to go hang out with your friends. I'm like, why? Like, because first of all, exactly, you guys are telling me that she's not my friend, but then all of a sudden, when I want to go hang out with my friends, she's my friend. No. Yeah. I don't like her like that. Like, if we do that, then she's gonna think that we're on like the same mates. Level. Yeah, like, and we're not.
You're not my mate.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, calm down.
But then let me ask you this: do you feel like you ever had to, like, struggle with, like, because you said each child gets a different parent. Do you ever feel like you had to deal with, like, a different culture? Like, even though you guys were all raised in the same household, like, you're dealing with a child that's like, this is not our culture, or like, this is different.
Yeah, I always reference my little brother because he's 7 years younger than me. So yes, specifically the image that comes to my mind right now, when I graduated from college, I remember at some point one day he came in my room, he sat in my bed, and he was like telling me all the things that he did that day. Girl, when I tell you I did not understand one word that he was saying, I was like, what? Because he was using so much slang. Oh, and I was like,
skiddly toilet rinse.
That's what I heard. I was like, he said skiddly. I was like, oh, God. I literally was like, Junior, I don't know what you're talking about.
Bro, these people will make you feel old. I'm like, what are you talking about? What?
Yeah, I mean, he still gets on me today. He's like, Arez, stop acting like you're 40-something years old. I'm like, 40-something years old. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, Junior.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, like, I wish I had an even younger sister, so I could, like, compare. Because people say with boys, parents are much more, like, relaxed. But I'm just gonna go based off of just he's the baby. His parents were much more lackadaisical with him. Like, just let him do a lot more than I was allowed to do. Yeah. And so there was a lot more influence from the outside, which wasn't Junior's a very, like, I know who I am type of person. So he wasn't like, he didn't come home and was like a whole different person. Yeah. But he just got to do a lot more than I ever. Like, I couldn't even the things that oh my gosh. Okay.
Talk to me.
Girl. One time, Melvin, at this point Melvin and I were married, okay? I always tell my mom that Junior's the favorite child. She's like, no, he's not. I'm like, girl, yes, he is. Because the things that he asked, I wouldn't even think to ask. So, prime example. Okay. in my old house, it was 2 floors, upstairs, downstairs.
Right.
Melvin and I are upstairs. My husband and I are upstairs. And we're walking down the hallway, and I hear Junior ask my mom, "Hey, mom," though both of them are downstairs. "Hey, mom, can you go upstairs and take the potatoes out of the freezer and warm them up for me?" And I'm like, "What?"
Like, who are you, man?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, in my head, I'm thinking like, I even looked at Melvin like, "That's so funny that he asked her that," and I'm thinking my mom's gonna say no. What the heck? And she's like, "Yeah, sweetheart." I was like, "No freaking way!" And she came upstairs, and she was doing. I was like, "Mom, what are you doing?" She's like, "Junior wanted me." I was like,
"Yeah, let's him come on you."
Literally.
What?
And I was like, "Junior," I was like, "Are your hands broken?" I was like, "Don't ask my mom to be doing stuff for you. Are you crazy? Don't do that. Don't treat my mom like that."
Yeah.
Oh my god,
bro. You go to your mom. You need to stand up for yourself. Don't let him use you.
Yeah, I was like, "Mom, that's what I'm talking about. He's a favorite child." I couldn't even ask you that.
Yeah.
You'd be like, "Why?"
No, because we need to talk about how different children get different privileges,
Oh my gosh.
and the parents relate to them
Girl.
so differently. And I just, I don't know, girl. It's different. That's why I always say, for me, I have a beef with all last borns. Like, and okay, and
Watch the Lord give you a lastborn.
Jesus, you're gonna have to be a real responsible lastborn, because I feel like I can even pick it out of people, because I realize this is my observation. Lastborns, they're not afraid to ask for things. Sometimes they can even demand what they want, because it's going to be given to them. And then they have an expectation that you're going to do it regardless. But then I think some more is like they
can't do anything for themselves.
Oh my gosh, let's not go there, because how do I fill out this application? Well, first you put your name, and then you know, and I think, bro, like so even filling out certain forms, like whenever I would get certain questions, I'm like, but you can Google this. Yeah. I realized, oh my gosh, I've been doing this for all these years. You don't even know how to. Like, you didn't even build up the skill set to do that. Yes. So sometimes I'm like, okay, are they to blame? Yes.
Yes, they
still are to blame.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's just certain things that lastborns be doing. I'm like, you're acting so much like a lastborn. Yeah. Like, they act very baby-like. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I be acting baby-like, at the right time. But, or I would say, like, sometimes I feel like one trend I see is maybe they don't rise up to the occasion to help, because naturally the older borns would be the ones to do it.
Yeah,
so
definitely. Like that last part, that blah, 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 that last part definitely gets on my nerves. Like it's almost like second, it's not even second nature. It's just like if I don't offer, I'm gonna get in trouble for not offering. So it's like I have to. Yeah. But they're like, "Oh yeah, do you need something?" You know what I mean? Yeah. After, you know what I mean? Yeah, I remember the filling out my FAFSA. Yeah. I did that primarily by myself. And when my parents had to do it, I had to help them.
Yeah, it's okay.
And every year it was a whole thing. I was like, why don't you write this information down? Why am I parenting you? Yeah. And then Junior's time was like, can you help me? No, I don't. I'm done with that stuff. I hated doing that stuff. Don't ask me to help you with that. Pages and pages. Yeah. And my mom was like, you need to help your brother. You went through it with me, so you had practice. Why do I need to come in? Oh my gosh, I was like, no, I can't go through this anymore. No, I'm done with this,
because I feel like all of us have been through that FAFSA thing. Because I'm like, for me, it was like the free and reduced lunch forms. Did you ever get those?
Yes,
bro. It's like I was the one constantly doing it. Then when I no longer needed it, I'm getting questions, and I'm like,
yeah,
you just fill out the mom. Yeah. Girl, oh my god.
I hate it whenever people ask me questions and I'm like, I don't know. Call my mom. Call my dad. That's their job.
But you just said something. I realized this trait in myself, that like I feel for myself that I'm expected to know everything.
Oh yeah.
As an older child, because I realize like when you're younger, you get a lot of questions. But then also, as being a child of immigrant parents, whenever they don't know something, they come to you, the one that was raised in America, to figure out what it is. So I'm like, I have, my parents asking me questions, then I have my younger siblings asking me questions. So sometimes someone can ask me something, and I don't know,
You feel
but
stressed.
I feel stressed, but I
Yes.
almost like kind of create an answer.
Yep.
I'm like, I don't know, but probably. And I'm
Yes.
like, I'm trying to get in the habit of if I don't know, just say I don't know.
Yep.
But for me, I cannot say how can I not know?
Yeah.
And I realize it stems
Yes.
from that.
Yeah. I definitely I'm definitely in there too. I've been working on it for a little while now.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, okay, it's okay. It's okay to say, oh, I'm not sure. You don't have to like. That's why I think somebody commented on the other day. But I was just saying, because it's me repressing my like trying to figure out what to say in the spot that where there's a blank.
Yeah.
Because I can definitely fill it in. And then it's like none of that was true.
Yeah.
So
I know, bruh. But it be working though. Like,
yeah.
you just tell somebody answer, they're gonna take it.
Yeah. And so now, but I feel back, I'm like, dang, I don't want them to take it and be like, oh my gosh, she lied to me. I didn't lie. I didn't know. I just had to tell you something.
No, literally.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
One thing that I also struggle with, like, because I'm the oldest, when I see a younger person doing things that I feel like I should be doing, because it makes them look older. Does that make sense? Like achieving more or whatever. I'm like, oh my gosh, like what am I doing? Like they're doing more than I am, and I'm, because in the, as Africans, you're as a younger sibling, you're not supposed to be doing more than your older sibling. The younger sibling is supposed to be getting married first. Right. Not supposed to be all these things.
It's supposed to go in order.
Exactly. So when I see even outside of my culture, I'm like, oh my gosh. Or the thing that when I left school, once again, making friends with people who are older than me, that has been the weirdest thing ever. Really? Like I started one of my jobs before I had Mavi I was working at a bank, and my coworkers, ranged from like my age, maybe a couple years younger, to like 50s. Oh, and so I was like, do I call them Mr., Mrs.? But we're like, everybody else is calling them by their first names. But like, like my manager who's like around my age, I just call him Josh. Right. Meanwhile, my coworker who is the bank teller like me, I called her by her first name. And oh no, I didn't. I said Mrs. and first name because of the age difference. Yeah. And I'm like, I literally was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Like in my head, I was like, like I didn't know what to do. Yeah. Yeah. I was like struggling, and I'm like, So yeah, how do you feel about like this age dynamic outside of the culture?
Girl, I'm in the same boat as you. Like, especially when I went to undergrad for the first time, and my professors are calling me, like, say, call me Rick. I'm like, first and foremost, no. Like, I remember I struggled. I was like, I can't do that. Like, Dr. Rick, Mr. Rick. If you don't even want me to call you doctor, which I don't know why. If you went to school and you got a doctorate, why do you now don't want me to call you doctor? Like, yeah. So they'll just be like, I believe doctors should be reserved for doctors. Just call me. I'm like, please.
Then you shouldn't have gotten your doctorate.
Like, I'm gonna call you, okay, professor. If you don't want doctor, I'll call you professor. So for me, I need those titles in place because I feel like just the way I'm wired, for someone who is older than me, like, I just give you respect naturally. Yeah. Like, I believe you went through whatever you had to go through. You're much older than me. You could be my mom. You could be my dad. You deserve that respect. Yeah. So for me, I feel like that, especially even now in seminary, because I'm like literally the youngest person here, and everybody's 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I don't know. I found it much more easier to call people by their first names. Like if you're in your 30s, I'm like, okay, because 30s is the new 20s. They're young just like me. But I feel like my professors, I always put a prefix. I put like a title in front of that, or I call them by their last name, like Dr. Blank. But nah, girl, I can't call you by your first name unless we're like this. But even that, maybe auntie, maybe cousin. Yeah.
Yeah. I have some, I guess they're friends at church, and they're older than me, and like they would call me friends, and I'm like, are you friends? Like you're older than me. You got like older kids. Like this is, I don't know if this is allowed. Like I want to whisper to them like, yeah. I was like,
but I realize Americans are so free about that. Yeah. Which is like sometimes it's freeing because I'm like, okay, so I don't have to see you as like this figure. Yes. And I think that's one of the cultural shifts I've been dealing with now is kind of like, in my mind, I always pictured adults to be mean and like rigid. And that's because I grew up with like Africans as the picture of older people. And Africans, if you're relating to a young person, they're not your mate. So, and they make it clear, I'm not your mate. So
Yeah.
don't talk to me like that.
Yeah.
So I just naturally have a higher respect for people. But you come to American culture and they're just kind of like, oh, like, yeah, girl. Like, and it's like, hey,
Yeah.
me, girl.
I know.
Okay.
I'm like, you're supposed to be giving me advice. Don't call me girl. What's going
Exactly.
on?
Oh my god.
Like,
So there, I noticed American culture, they're not really big on like the hierarchical
mhm.
structures. So I'm
Yeah.
having to like, I have to remind myself, like, okay, Sabrina, even though this person is 40 something and they're relating with you, have that respect still
Yes.
in place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my church is like, because there's a pretty wide range of ages there. So I'm definitely learning that. Like the first time somebody older than me called me girl or friend, I was like once again like, like what's going on? I don't know what to do.
So if a little kid called you and saw you auntie and called you auntie, like, oh, auntie Zita, how'd you feel?
A little kid, I think it would be weird only because I'm not used to hearing that.
Okay.
But I'd be like, oh, that's so sweet. Like, oh, that's cute. Yeah. But it's funny because when my older siblings came here, so my culture, you call your older siblings ya and their name.
Okay.
It's just to show respect. And so when they came, now my parents never told us about this. So when they came, they were like, why aren't you saying that? And I'm like, saying what? And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, nobody taught me that. And so with my thing, like going back to like, you know, being raised here, I was born in another country and came here. My parents know who they are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They grew up in the culture. For them, they're just living their lives.
Yeah.
So when their stuff happened, where I was like, I don't know. It's like they didn't. Not that they didn't. Well, yeah, just didn't know or realize to teach us about it. You know, like they didn't teach us one of our languages because they just didn't think like it was important that they needed that we needed to learn it. By the time we went to any Congolese event, they would be speaking us in Lingala. And I'm like, Lingala, like I don't speak Lingala, and they're like, why? And speaking to me in French and like arguing with me, a child, and I used to be like, my parents are over there. You can go ask them.
Go talk to them.
Like I'm not gonna have this conversation with you. I'm upset that I don't know the language.
Right.
So, yeah, I think like you said, like it's difficult, like whenever you're raised here in a whole different culture in your own house, and then going. But that house is in a whole different culture. So
yes. Oh my gosh. No, literally like silos of culture. But even in the culture that you're in, like you're not getting everything.
Yes.
Because I realized like the difference between someone being raised in Africa and here is like, even though my parents are speaking the language and feeding me the food and are still teaching me, it's like the world around me is also influencing me.
Yes.
And it truly does take a village to raise a child. So I realized being raised here, my village consists of so many different cultures. Like I'm raised in an African household, but I'm going to an American school with people of different cultures.
Yeah.
I'm eating Asian food, Indian food, Ethiopian. It's like I'm being influenced by a world of different cultures around me. So I love it in the fact that I feel like I am a more multifaceted person. Like I'll be doing the Indian dancing, I'll be doing all of that. But then sometimes, especially when I was younger, I felt less Ghanaian because I wasn't fluent in the language. And that's always been like my biggest, like, I would hate being in a room of Ghanaians and they're all laughing and joking. And I'm like, like smiling, nod, smiling, nod.
Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
And I wouldn't understand the entirety of what they're saying. Yeah. And so, like, that just always made me feel like I'm not really truly Ghanaian. And what made it worse was going to college because
all the international students.
Girl, they would come straight from your country.
Boom! You're not African. Boom! You don't speak this language. Boom! You don't even eat.
Bro, you don't even know how to cook this.
Bro, why are you attacking me? I just met you. Literally, I don't even know you.
I remember hearing like, "Oh, you're not Ghanaian." Like, cause I remember, okay, there were a couple of ones from Ghana, and then they saw me, and of course they're gonna start speaking the language, and they're like, the worst part is telling them like, "Oh, like I'm not." Oh, it's so disappointing.
And it's that disappointing the disappointment that they see. They're like, "Oh,"
they're like, "Oh,"
and they walk away.
Yeah, bro.
Like, don't walk away.
Why did this just happen to me? Like 2 weeks ago, I was sitting here, and there was an older man, and as he was walking by, I'm like, this man is African, but I'm hearing his accent. I'm like, he has to be from Ghana. Yeah. So I'm there, we're interacting, and then I tell him, I'm like, oh, are you from Ghana? He was like, yes. Are you from Ghana? And I was like, yes. So then I was like, oh, do you speak Tree? He said, oh, of course. So he starts like speaking, and I'm like, I'm sitting in a tree like, oh, meant to me like Kachi, like really good. And so just mixing the two. And he was like, oh, do you know where Kumasi is? And I was like, oh, like, I know it, but I'm not from there. He was like, okay, have a good day. And he starts walking, and I'm like, wait, like, yo, you could really be my uncle.
Yeah.
Like, we could make something work.
Yeah.
No, as soon as
Girl.
he realized, like, oh, I'm not really even raised in Ghana.
Yeah. I mean, literally, that's literally my life. Like, I went through like a whole identity crisis in college because specifically I took an interpersonal communication class.
Yeah.
And we just kept talking about ourselves.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know who I am. I'm not really African, but I'm not really American. And I just, like, you know, I was like, I've been here longer than I have been in Africa, but I live in an African house. Like, literally, my papers would be talking about that. Because she would, like, talk about whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, I just don't know who I am. Like, literally, I went through that whole freaking thing. And it was so, like, mentally overwhelming. And honestly, it was scary. Because ultimately, like, it's true. Like, I've been here longer than I have been in Africa. And I am an American. I'm more American than I am Congolese. That's just the truth of the matter. And I can't help it. There's nothing I can do about it. Besides go and live there. But I don't want to do that because the opportunities are very different, you know, and I've never been there. So, yes, like I definitely, like, even when I was pregnant, I was like, he's not even going to get half of what I got. You know what I mean? Because his dad's American and we live here. If anything, he's going to speak French. And he might eat saka saka. Like, he'll eat fufu, saka saka, peanut stew, and that's as good as it's gonna get. He's gonna be like my little brother. Like, my little I love Junior. I really do. But Junior is 90% American and 10% Congolese. And he wasn't even born there. He was born here. So it definitely, when I was pregnant, it definitely, like, broke my heart, like, a little bit. But when I was in college, I think that this was the Lord, like, telling me, like, first of all, this is the blessing that you're here. People fight to come here. As much as, one thing I really genuinely don't like is how Americans hate America.
Ooh, yes.
I hate it because, one, the Lord has truly blessed the country of America. Like, in so many ways. People want to go back here, go back there. There are so many countries that will kill you for talking about their president the way y'all talk about Trump or Biden or whatever. You will get shot. People, a lot of us who came here didn't come here because we wanted to come. I came here as a refugee. A lot of people are, like, you know, in that same position. My thing is, like, talk to people before you say all these crazy things. Girl. So one thing I'm always gonna be is grateful that I'm here. And then, you know, but the Lord helped me to see, like, you are African. Period. It might not look like, you know, this person, that person, but you can't do anything about it. So just be proud about what you have, and your son's gonna be different too, and that's okay. If he's more American than you even are African, that's fine. Like, it is what it is. You literally can't do anything about it unless you take him and put him over there. But that's not what the Lord called me. That's another thing too. Why would I go somewhere when the Lord didn't call me? You know what I mean? I go and be stuck there, and my whole everything's crumbling down. I would love. I have thought so many times, especially when I went to Ghana, like, what my life would have looked like if we lived back home. But it would literally be like 1,000% different. You know what I mean?
So much.
Because things back home are unfortunately very crazy. Like, I follow the Instagram stuff for what's happening in a lot of countries in Africa, and it's scary. So,
wow. No, you raised so many good points. Like, that's one thing that I realized. Americans be talking about America like, ooh, I'm like, y'all ain't got no type of respect for your own country.
Me, who am from a poor country, I'm more prideful than you.
I'm telling you, because when you come from outside of the country, you see, like, America truly is a land of opportunities. You find yourself in a, I don't know, situation, and somebody gives you money. It's not that easy for that to happen back home. And so sometimes I just be looking at Americans, and I'm like, the way y'all be talking about this. And the thing is, they don't know any better, because I think sometimes you have to get out of your situation to really see what it is. And then when you get back and you're like, okay, like, let me shut up. Because I have, like, especially when people were talking about, like, oh, when Donald Trump comes, I'm going to Africa. And I'm like, okay, that's great. But do you know how to live whenever the lights are out for a week and there's no electricity? Do you know how it is to go to the water pump and to come and, you know, when you turn on the light don't always turn on.
the water is a whole different thing too. You can't if you go there, you cannot drink that water.
Yeah.
You make sure you have bottled water because you will be sick.
Yeah.
Like literally, my sister lives in Tanzania.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what happens all day long. The Wi-Fi goes in and out, in and out.
Yeah.
And she'd be telling me that. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. It gets crazy because if it happens here, that's a huge inconvenience. I'm calling somebody.
Yes.
You can't call nobody. You're just like, oh, the Wi like power's out. Okay, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
When I was in Ghana, one of the things that I
hated,
girl, one of the things that I hated was the cold water. Like you had to warm it up sometimes, but sometimes it didn't work.
Yeah.
So I'm over here like, like I have my buggy and I'm like, oh my gosh, so cold. I was like, oh, okay, I gotta get out. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go home and take a shower.
Yeah. Yo,
literally.
Cold water. See, it's different when you have the choice, but when you have no choice, child.
I was like, I would much rather be outside, literally take a shower outside and with the hose. That water inside was freezing. Jeez, oh my gosh. I know. But I love Ghana. It was such a great experience. I definitely want to go back. Oh, I miss the mangoes.
And I wish, like, I'm really hoping for the day that I can go back and like see everything, because one of the things that you mentioned is like being American, like still being African, but being American in America. And my struggle has always been, if I never, like to the day I died, never stepped foot in Africa, can I still say that I'm African? Because for the most part, although I wasn't born here, I've been here for like 99% of my life.
Yeah.
And that's also the struggle that I faced when I was in college too. It was kind of like, okay, I know I'm not American, and I know I'm not 100% like African, as some would say, but I don't see myself as African American. I see myself as African. Oh, I can code switch very well. When I'm with white people, I can talk like white. When I'm with black people, even when I'm with Hispanics, my little Hispanic accent be coming out. I'm telling you. So I just feel like if I were to never go back to Africa again, could I still say that I'm like African?
Yeah.
And that's just been my struggle.
Yeah. Honestly, I've had that question too. Frankly, I feel like, well, some Africans are very like, come on, kumbaya.
Yeah.
In terms of that whole thing. But I remember when I was there, somebody asked me, I think they asked me where I'm from. I was like, oh, I live in America, but I was born in Burkina Faso. And they're like, no, you weren't. Ooh. And I was like, like, you weren't gonna tell me where I was born. But like, when it comes to somebody from America, Africans are very like, oh no, they're American. Yeah. Like it's a straight write off. Like if you, I used to tell people in college, like if you were born here, no, you came, okay, born here, grew up here, but then you moved to Africa, they'll tell you, oh no, you're American, you're American, you're American, you're American, until you do something that proves them. Yeah. Oh wow. Bruh. Oh, but for the most part, oh no. Anytime I talk to even my dad would be like, oh, vous êtes American, whatever, you're American, you can't blah blah. And I'm like, Dad, that hurts. Like, you're hurting my feelings.
Does. Oh my gosh, one of the worst things that happened to me. So I had this one experience where I was launching my African dance business, and I was announcing it at church. And I was like, okay, let me add a little bit of comedy to it. So I'm going to speak it in the language, because my church was at the time like 100% like Ghanaian tree speakers. Yeah. So I was letting them know that, I was like, oh, melonche business. And I was saying things, and it was like, for me, I know it's funny when somebody wasn't, I couldn't speak it well. Yeah. So they were helping me out. They were laughing. And I was like, okay, I got the information now that I need their support. So on my way back to my seat, one of the guys was like, oh, these American children is so bad. Like, they've lost this. And it's worse when they say it in the language, too, because it's like, I still understand it. I understand it way better than I can speak it. Yeah. But it's like, hearing that, it's like, what he said was like, hey, American uncle, I say, like, they're messed up, their waist. Something like that. So I'm like, wow. Like, that's tough. Me, I'm trying to make it a joke, but it's like, no, like, a lot of Africans, they see when you can't speak the culture, it's like, oh, at this point,
they're lost.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, that kind of sucks, because it wasn't like, had my parents, taught me tree, it would have been different. Yep. And I'm not saying that they didn't, but I think rather they didn't enforce it, because they speak it, but whenever I came to like try to translate it back, it just sounded weird. And I think someone taught me it's a left brain, right brain thing. that like one side of your brain understands it and can literally like make it out, but the other side is responsible for like saying it. And for me, forming the syllables and how it sounds, I'm like, is it e like I would struggle with that.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I'm like in the same boat. I remember there was at my old church that we had like a cultural like lunch or something like that. So everybody brought different meals from their culture, and I brought beef stew, something I make all the time. And somebody, I don't remember what, I think he's Senegalese, and he was shocked that it tasted good.
Whoa!
I know. I was like, that was rude, but whatever, you know. Yeah, I can make food. What's up, you know? Yeah, like even my own aunts, they'd be like, "Oh, wow, like your French is so broken." Blah blah. I'm like, "How about you help me?
Help me, yes."
Where's what's his name?
Kevin Hart.
Yeah, help me. Like literally, don't make fun of me.
Yeah.
I tell them so many times, talk to me in French. Talk to Mabi in French. That's all. Like, don't do it. Even Junior would come in and be like, just talk to me in French. And I'd be sometimes I'm like, it's not that good. But I have to like force myself. Yeah. And I wish, I truly, I've been praying for so long, the Lord, to have like a French community. Yeah. So I can, you know, like so we can talk all the time. Yes. Like they're always talking to me in French. I'm talking to them in French. And my French is getting better. Yeah. You know? Because I want my kids, if I could send my kids to a French school, that would be great. Oh, wow. Like literally just because one, there's so many benefits of multiple languages. Yeah. And it helps you learn quicker. Like I have just me being, I guess it's the fact that I'm not from here, all these things versus meeting people who are from here and only do things that are American are very much more rigid. And I don't want my kids to be like that. I want them to be flexible. I want them to learn other cultures, instruments, all that things. Because it really just helps your personality, honestly, it does. Overall. And I want them to be amazing, you know, kids who are just able to do a lot of things and not be like, oh, I don't want to do that. You know, exactly. I want them to be comfortable in being uncomfortable. Yeah. So, no, because that's Christianity as a whole. Yeah. You have to be. If you're comfortable, then red flag.
Literally. And I think, yeah, I would also really encourage like people, if you're fluent in your language and you see somebody struggling, don't do the like, oh, you sound horrible. Yes. Like that just makes them not want to speak it ever again.
It hurts.
Oh my.
It hurts so much.
Do you know that's the reason why I speak Spanish?
Girl.
Because when I was younger, I was like, I can't speak my own language. So let me hop onto the Spanish. And Hispanics love.
They're so excited. They're like, oh wow, like, good job. Yeah.
Yo, they love it. Yes. And so just being around a whole bunch of Hispanics, when they see a black person, someone not in their culture speak Spanish, they're so welcoming, and it makes you even want to speak it more. Yes. And like Africans would always use this against their children, like, you see the Spanish people, see the way they are just speaking Spanish, and they know, but you people, and I'm like, okay, well,
but it's your fault.
I don't know what to tell you.
Literally, it's your fault that I don't, you know? Yeah. Like, my mom literally used to joke and be like, I didn't teach you guys Lingala because I want to talk about you. So without you understanding.
Mom. Whoa.
Yeah. But I think it's just like, they just didn't think about it. My dad speaks 4 languages, and a lot of 2 or 3 of them are very native tongues from where his tribe. Yeah. But I don't even understand. Lingala, I know I can hear Lingala, and after a little bit, I can understand what you're kind of talking about. Yeah, I can make it out. My older siblings speak Kikongo, and whenever they were home, they would speak it, and to the point where I knew what they were talking about. And that's another thing too. When you learn too many languages, it's so much quicker for you to pick it up. Yeah. Like literally, you hear it and you're like, oh, it's that language. Okay, and then you sit long enough, and you're like, oh, I kind of know what you're talking about, you know. And I want that for my kids. It's fun. Like, I love it.
So cool. Like, I met somebody in college who can speak 7 languages.
I want to be a polyglot. So
how do you? Because sometimes I think and like Tree and Spanish at the same time, and sometimes I hate it because sometimes I can speak Spanish better than I can speak Tree. So I'm like, you know, dang, I'm malfunctioning right now. I'm trying to speak Twinglish, but
Twinglish, that's
Twinish. I don't know. But I do believe it's so good to like be able to speak multiple languages because you think in different like realms. Like even the way things are said in Spanish, you'd be so surprised. It's like the purse of my mother instead of my mother's purse.
I feel French is the same thing.
It is. It's just I feel like it makes you think of things differently. Yeah. you know.
Yeah, that's something I actually genuinely do want to learn Spanish because one, it's so similar to French
Yeah.
and English, and I just love it. I love how they it just
Yeah.
I just love it. It sounds so cool, and I'm
Talking
like,
about Spanish.
wow, yes.
I mean, hola, ¿cómo está? Me llamo Sabrina. Soy de Ghana. Just some slice, some slice.
I love it. And then it's so funny when I speak French, people are like, oh my gosh. Especially lately at my church, all the girls are like, oh my God, dude, this sounds so sexy. I'm like, girl,
when
no,
you speak
it's
French?
not. Yeah, and I'm like, I just said hi.
Bonjour. No, but I think French is one of those
It's
romance.
the love language,
Oh
yeah.
my
French,
gosh.
English, Spanish, Portuguese.
What is romantic about English?
Oh, is it English? I don't know.
No, I was just joking.
Portuguese. I think Russian is one of them too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love Spanish. When I hear it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to get into this like real bad.
Yeah. I heard it's easier for you to like learn Spanish because it's so close to French.
Yeah, I took a Spanish class in high school. That was the easiest class I ever taken in my life.
Wow.
Like so serious. I was like,
mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely want to learn it. I need to be. I just need to join clubs. There's like definitely like a French club here, and I need to just go.
Oh yes, please.
I do that with Spanish too.
Yeah. Girl, I know that this conversation has gone like so many areas, but I feel like these are like us.
Yeah.
Like this is us. We're always like talking about, well, I mean, I think we just started talking about like the sibling thing, but just that responsibility and then always being an Americanized African has been something that I feel like we could always relate about.
Yeah.
So like I know there are other people who are kind of in the same seat of us or seat as us, either they're Americanized Africans or they're just kind of, they have a respectable difference from their culture.
Mm-hmm.
What is something you would tell them?
This is gonna sound so cliche, but honestly, you need to find your identity in God first. You really do, because like I said, when I was going through my whole identity crisis in college, it was the Lord who like helped me, like guided me. Because at the end of the day, the Bible even says whenever we go to heaven, we're literally like, he doesn't care. He's not gonna be like, oh, you're from Ghana. There's all the Ghanaians over there. He's not gonna do that. He's gonna be like, go, be with the people. He looks at all of us the same. Now it's not to say the whole I don't see color thing. We're not doing that because he purposely made us from different places, for a reason. But I think find your identity in the Lord. And then once you do, just you just to be hard. I mean, just to be frank, you literally can't do anything about it. You can't, unless the Lord like says, no, you can go back home, where you're from and stay there. Unless he says that to you, you can't do anything about it. You know what I mean? Be happy be grateful for where you are. If you are, I don't know, Nigerian living in Germany and you feel more German than Nigerian, it is what it is. You know what I mean? You're German. Great. You're a black German. Even cooler, And the fact, and honestly, Americans think it's so cool, that like
you're from here, where you from?
I know, they're like, oh my God, that's so cool, and I love the questions, I really do. So just roll with it. Don't let anybody make you feel bad about it. Literally, it's the equivalent of you. If you told, like, let's say, like, the other Africans in college who used to be like, oh my God, you're not even American. It's the equivalent for me to try to make them feel bad about something about them that literally can't change. Just be comfortable. It is what it is. Ask the Lord to help you in that too. Like, and then also process it. Process your feelings. Like, don't just put it to the side. If you're sad, angry, all stuff, feel that. Like, I was very sad. I've definitely cried about it multiple times. I've been angry. When I was in Ghana, I was very upset. I was like, this could have been my life. I could have been here and blah blah. But the Lord has a plan. Like, he took us out of Burkina Faso for a reason and set us here for a reason. So we just have to ask him what it is.
And with that, I would add on to that before I get into mine. But it's just kind of like, there's a purpose for why you were here. Because I feel like sometimes we could do that. Like, I'm like, oh, dang, I could have been raised in Ghana. I could have been raised in Italy. And I feel like God was really intentional about taking people out of their countries and bringing them to other places. Because I think about how, like, Nigerians are really much, they're everywhere. No matter where you go,
they taking over the world.
Everywhere. And even in that, but you see that they're excellent. I feel like, okay, for me, I believe that Nigerians are naturally, they have excellence in their blood. Anywhere they go, they're excellent. But you see how they bring attention back to Nigeria. Because even if they were raised in UK or raised in the United States and they're not even connected to their culture, their names give them away. Ogochukwu, Ugwemeka, like that
Yeah.
alone. And they're becoming doctors
Yeah.
and they're doing all these things and they're getting connected to resources in the United States, in the UK, and they're going back to their country and helping. But it's like, mind you, if you were in your country and in the system, you wouldn't have been able to go that far.
That's
so
true.
what if, and just what if God brought you out so that you could become excellent in a different country and you're helping this country while helping your country at the same time? I feel like we need to like
Yes.
open the scope a little bit, because
Yes.
sometimes I feel bad and I'm like,
Yeah.
God, like I wasn't, raised there, this, but it's like, okay, he's building me here, but like, okay, now I can still say I have a home somewhere else, so now
Yeah.
I can also take that back there.
Yeah. So that's true. Like my sister, she also was born in Burkina.
Yeah.
We came whenever we came here, she was 4,
Mm-hmm.
and literally for the past maybe almost 2 years now, she's been living in Tanzania.
Wow.
So it's like, but she's doing literally what the Lord has called her to do.
Yeah.
And that girl is adopting the Tanzanian culture very much.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're very right. There's a bigger picture.
Very much
So if we get stuck on this little thing like, God, but you moved me here, and now I don't know if I'm American or African. And he's like, girl, you're 45. Move on.
Like, there are definitely challenges that come with it, but there's a bigger picture that we should
Yes.
discover. And you can only do that by,
Yeah.
finding your purpose in God, like you
Yeah.
said. Yeah.
If I was still back home, I wouldn't be married with babies. So at least, I wouldn't have Melvin and Melvin.
Yeah, I was
squared.
about to say, you probably would have been married like a couple
Yeah.
years ago, though.
I know. My dad used to joke about that all the time. If you were back home, you'd be married. Like, we were still, like, teenagers.
No, facts. What?
Yeah.
Probably would have like a couple of children.
Yeah.
But for me, I would say that my last words are, no matter where you are and what you identify as, find a community. Regardless, I feel like when you're raised in America, and I can only speak for myself, you are blessed with being influenced by so many different cultures. Like, you could literally go to an Indian restaurant, literally go to this restaurant, literally go to this. And I think those are beautiful. But you need to also find a community where you can feel at home and feel comfortable. And so, I don't know. For me, I feel like I always have to be plugged into an African community somewhere. Because if I'm not, then I start to code switch so much that I be stuck on this code, and I'm like, why am I talking like this everywhere that I go? I'm like, no, I need to say chale, move. Like, so for me, I need to stay plugged into my African culture so that I'm still getting it's like an IV. Like, I need the nutrients of my community around me. So community is so big. Whether it's a cultural community, religious community, Christian community, you need community.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad to have you in my community as well. I'm thankful for who you are in this season. I mean, you've always been a big sis to me, regardless, undergrad, grad. And I don't know, I feel like this is like a for life thing.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks
you
for
guys,
having
give it up for
me.
my big sis. Hold on, let me see if I can. Yeah, we can't. They're clapping for you right now.
Yay!
But yes, you guys, this is the end of the podcast. I'm going to go ahead and share a prayer. And yeah, so Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for this podcast episode. Father, I thank you for everywhere where the conversation landed. I thank you for helping us relate to each other as older sisters who have been in many situations. And I just pray that if there's anyone who is listening that is in that situation and doesn't know how to navigate it, I pray that you would give them wisdom on how to navigate their relationship with their parents and with their younger siblings. I pray for anyone who is currently in an identity crisis with their culture, with their religion, with anything in particular. Father, I pray that you would step in the gap and help them figure out who they are in you first before they put themselves in any other category. Father, I am so grateful that you came to us and you allowed us to share our experiences, knowing that we are not the only ones in this, oh God, but there are many people out there who need community, who need guidance. And so I pray that you would open doors for community. I pray that you would open doors for cultural building. I pray that you would open doors for people to even discover more about themselves and more about their heritage. Father, you know why you separated us from our countries, but you also know why you took people out of their countries so that we could also give back with the resources that we have obtained. Father, we thank you for what you're doing in this season. We love you, we adore you, and we praise you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. So So, y'all, we have landed. Thank you so much for flying with us on Spiritual Elevation. Where can we find you?
Well, I have an Instagram page. It's ZMB under 21 underscore.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, and I mean I'm on Facebook too. If you wanna add me on there, follow me on there.
And don't forget to go ahead and follow her her greeting card page. Is it Looks by Zeet?
Made by Zeet.
Made by Zeet.
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 Yeah.
And y'all already know you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Sabby Speaks. That's SABB, not VVY, Speaks 01. And you can find this podcast on Spiritual Elevation on every streaming platform available. But that's it, y'all. We have landed. Thank you for flying with us, and I hope to see you again. Bye.
Bye.
that was